Hi everyone, I'm Zilla Blitz and welcome. Today we'll be exploring Eagle Leader, one of the two new leader games from Dan Verssen Games. This game, designed by Philip Bolger-Cortez and Ben Rawlings, is a solitaire wargame where you take charge of a NATO air squadron in a hypothetical Cold War gone hot. Let's do an overview of Eagle Leader before we jump in and talk about the components. First up, this is a solitaire game designed for one player, although it'd be fairly easy to work together as two or more players to play this collaboratively. You'll be in charge of NATO forces only, and the system will play as your Soviet opponents. To get to the other side of this experience, you'd want to get Fulcrum Leader, which has a similar gameplay, but from the Soviet side. Gameplay length is listed at 60 to 90 minutes, but this is for a single mission. And the heart of Eagle Leader, and indeed all the Leader games, is the game's campaigns, which allow you to manage a squadron of planes and string missions together into multi-day operations. Campaign length can range greatly, from short ones lasting just a day or so, to the longest campaigns, which are 12 days in length. Doing the math, a campaign can be anywhere from 3 to 4 hours in total gameplay to 20 hours or more. And we'll talk more about these campaigns in a bit. Each mission in the game also features a tactical engagement, which generally speaking is 5 turns long. In this part of the game, you engage enemy forces that are defending targets you have been assigned to hit. These tactical engagements would be very short, just a few minutes of historical length. Unit scale in the game is the individual plane and pilot level. Let's now walk through some of the major features of Eagle Leader. The biggest thing to understand about Eagle Leader is that gameplay is broken up into 2 distinct elements. Missions are where you'll be loading out your planes and flying them to attack enemy targets and objectives, but this tactical element is just half the game. A huge part of gameplay is the campaign side of play. In the campaign, you'll be managing your pilots and equipment and figuring out the best way to structure and complete missions so you can win at the larger and more important operational and campaign level. It's also important to note just how much gameplay is in this box. There are 8 campaigns to select from, and 7 of them have different day lengths you can pick, from short to medium to long. Add in some of the expansions and you've got even more gameplay to pick from. There are also more than 300 cards in the box and over 700 counters, so there's a wide variety of gameplay you'll experience within an individual campaign, even if you replay campaigns to try for better results. The cards indeed provide the heart of the gameplay variety. There are stacks of cards for pilots and planes to pick from, cards from random events as you're in your missions. Lastly, there is a big stack of target cards to give your missions a variety of things to knock out and eliminate. At the tactical level, each counter is a plane-pilot combination. And depending on the length of the campaign you'll choose, you'll have anywhere from 8 to 12 pilots in your squadron. Each enemy counter is an enemy plane or a ground-to-air site. So the gameplay takes you to a very personal level. The tactical mission level of gameplay has a pre-flight planning phase where you'll determine what sorts of ordnance and additional support you'll use on the upcoming mission, as well as which pilots will be resting or saved for a later mission in the day. Gameplay proceeds quickly to the tactical stage where you'll have a 5-turn engagement with enemy forces. Combat is dice-based, where you'll be rolling to see if you've hit targets or have been hit by enemy forces. Events can happen both on the outbound and return legs of the mission, which can add further wrinkles to your missions. At the campaign operational level of the game, you'll be managing your squadron. Pilots gain experience and level up on missions, thereby gaining increased performance ratings and capacity at combat. On the negative side, pilots also accumulate stress, which can cause their performance to degrade. Once too much stress has built up, a pilot has to sit out days to recover. Pilots also have skills that can give them little perks in combat. An additional element of the campaign level is the currency of the campaign, special option points. These points are spent to allow you to add special weapons and squadron assets that can make or break challenging missions. But you never have enough of these points, so spend them wisely. The rulebook weighs in at a hefty 81 pages, but there are some considerations. The official rules end at page 57 here, and then the back section of the rulebook has a big appendix for aircraft and ordnance information, which is very helpful. And there are also some optional rules and some guidance for learning how to play and learning how to load out your planes effectively. The main chunk of the rulebook is very simply laid out. It's all single column with not a lot of text on a page. I'd also say that the rules are pretty straightforward. This is not an overly complex game despite the large number of pages in the rulebook. So while this looks like a lot to learn, I read through the rules in under an hour, and I feel pretty ready to jump in. To be fair, I have played other leader games, and there is an overlap in mechanics and gameplay that makes it easier to learn a second leader game than your first one. All said, I'll give this game a 3.5 out of 10 on the complexity scale. It's just not a very hard system to pick up and play. The writing of the rules in particular seems clear and straightforward in this edition. There are only a couple of minor lingering questions that I've got after going through the whole book. Solitaire-wise, of course, I'd give this a 10 out of 10. It's designed for solo play and is perfect for solo game players. Let's explore our mountain of counters. There are 8 sheets in all, more than 700 5/8 of an inch counters in total. Now, these are all double-sided. They're nice and thick with pre-rounded corners for all of them. My counter clipper is lonely indeed. Now, let's take a look at what we've got. The front sheet here is the NATO aircraft. These are double-sided. There isn't a lot of information on these in terms of numbers because those are all listed on the respective cards for these planes and pilots, and we'll take a look at those in a moment. The front side here has an H for high altitude. The back side is L for low altitude. And then we quickly drift over into NATO ordnance. These double yellow stripes here mean these are air-to-air weapons, and so we can see a lot of AIM-7 missiles here. Now, these missiles and then the enemy counters do have information on them in terms of any special features of the ordnance, and then also the likelihood that those are the die rolls you need to make for those to hit. Here we have some other ordnance, so a lot of air-to-ground ordnance, as a lot of the tactical objectives are going to be striking ground targets with your squadron. We move on now from ordnance into the enemy aircraft, and again, like the ordnance, there is a lot of information on these that give you 2 hit numbers and various die rolls that you need to make, as well as any special features and characteristics of the enemy aircraft or the enemy sites. Some of these are missile sites or even handheld weapons that can be trying to take out your planes. We drift over now to the last 3 sheets here are the counters, the markers for counters. So damage and hit markers and stress markers. These are situational awareness counters. Pilots can have situational awareness, which allows them at times to act twice in a particular tactical turn. And then the top half of these here are the pilot skills. We can see almost a little bit more than a whole counter sheet of various skills that pilots can have that give them special abilities in combat and in missions that can make the difference sometimes between a successful mission and a poor mission. Let's walk through our player aids. First up, we have a thin single-sided card that allows you to, it's the NATO Airbase Rheinberg, that allows you to manage your resources. We have spaces for your aircraft, shaken aircraft and pilots over here, and then unfit and damaged ones here, place for your munitions. So a very simple layout for organizing your squadron assets as you play through a campaign. This is the player log. Now this is a piece of paper. There's one of these that comes in the game, and I know these are available online as well, and you have copyright permission to print this and make many copies of these. This is where you track the progression of your campaign squadron. So pilots over here, you're tracking the experience point gained, their coolness. This is where you record the stress that accumulates as they go through missions. You're scoring and kind of accounting for all your special options points down here. And then the general information about the campaign goes up the top here. So it's a very handy, just a paper document for tracking the progress of your campaign as you play through one. I really like this player aid. This is in a single-sided cardstock sequence of play flowchart that takes you through the entire progression of the different types of gameplay you have as you go through a campaign. So at the top we have the campaign setup, then you have daily operations, your pre-flight and target-bound phase. Then you have your over-the-target phase. This is where the tactical combat happens. Then you have homebound and mission debriefing phase, and then your daily summary phase. And these, of course, cycle through. You can have more than one mission in a day, and unless the campaign's done, you're going to go back to your next daily operations. Very handy player aid for keeping track of how your campaign is moving around. Eagle Leader also comes with some errata sheets from other leader games. This is a 4 or 5 pages or so of errata from Hornet Leader, Carrier Air Operations, some from Israeli Air Force Leader, and then some from Phantom Leader Deluxe. These are all single-sided glossy paper, about 4 or 5 pages each. I mean, it's nice that if this much errata isn't needed, but when it happens, it's nice that the company follows through and provides this type of clarification and support, as it can take a long time to track these things down if they don't accumulate in one place. There is also an errata and clarification sheet I've seen for Eagle Leader. It's about 2-3 pages the last time I checked, and so you'll want to print that out to use that for this game as well. Eagle Leader also comes with 3 general player aids. This first one is an explanation of the different traits that are in the game. So some aircraft, event, and target cards, as well as weapon counters, can have these trait keywords on them, things like hard, friendly fire, artillery, and this explains them. This is two-sided, thin cardstock, but very handy to have. This is just a general player help sheet, which are on SO costs, how to use those, some of the optional rules. Here we have starting aircraft and campaign length, how many you can have, and the pilot levels they're at as you're building your squadron for a campaign, and other assorted aircraft attack sequence information, and then air-to-air, air-to-ground attack modifiers. So just general player help sheet here. And then lastly, we saw on the counters how pilots can have skills. This is an explanation, two-sided, of some of the skills that you can pick up as pilots, exactly what they do. So you can look at this to figure out what you want to get as you're deciding what skills you're going to build into your pilots. The last player aid for me is the most interesting. There are 8 of these, and these are the campaign cards. So Eagle Leader comes with 8 different campaigns. One is a short introductory campaign, but most of them are campaigns that allow you to pick either a short duration. So we can see here, this is El Dorado Canyon in 1986. You can select to play the short campaign, which is 2 days, a medium campaign, which is 3 days, and gives you a greater number of special option points, or the long campaign, which is 4 days, and gives you this many special option points. And then these are the weapons that are available for this campaign, and your special weapons, which cost you special option points to use. And these are the target cards. We'll take a look at those that are in play for this different event. And these are some of the characteristics of it, the zones you can be going to, and how this impacts your weapon load and how it impacts pilot stress. And again, this is just one of them. You know, these are single-sided. There are 8 in all. So this is Able Archer, and they all have different lengths. So this one, instead of being El Dorado here, is 2, 3, and 4 lengths. This one is 2, 4, or 6. We can see here we've got Flailing Bear. This is the long one here is 12 days. So this would be a huge campaign to fly through, because you can have more than one mission in a day. So this could be as many as, well over 20 missions that you could be flying in this campaign. Now, down the bottom here too, this is interesting to note. We haven't talked about this. When a campaign starts out, you're all starting at this level of recon, intel, and infrastructure. But as you progress in the campaign, destroying targets and completing missions are going to put markers pushing these off to the right. That means in future missions, you might have fewer bandits that are in the air, or fewer enemy sites that are targeting you. As you destroy the enemy infrastructure and intelligence, you're going to get benefits to that. And recon allows you to draw more target cards and select, and gives you options to pick for targets. So as you have success in a campaign, you're going to have advantages flying subsequent missions in that campaign. So again, this is a ton of gameplay. 8 campaigns, all with varying length. We've got Operation Desert Storm, 1991, Brezhnev's War, 1976, and the time scale as to when these happen also limits limits your force pool. So you can only take planes that would be available in this era. So quite a range here, going up to 1992, Operation Red Flag, The Final Gambit. This one here, by the way, is the intro one. So this has just got a short length. It's 4 days. I believe it's just 4 missions. A very simple one to get you up and playing the game. Final Gambit, 1989, expert level difficulty. So some of these are harder than others. Something for everybody in these campaigns. Cards. If there's anything that defines a Leader series game, it's cards. And this Eagle Leader is no exception. There are over 300 cards in the game. This stack that I'm holding here is the 200 plus aircraft pilot cards. And so aircraft pilot are a combination in one card. So I've pulled out 8 of these to take a look at as we examine how they work. The first thing to note is that there are 3 cards for each pilot and plane. So we've got here Wrecker, Wrecker, and Wrecker. These all represent one pilot and plane, and they are double-sided. So we can see on the front side here, this is the newbie level for Wrecker. If we flip it over, after he gets 2 experience points, Wrecker would go up to the green level, and then this is the average. If we flip this over, this goes to the skilled, and then here is Veteran, and lastly, after Veteran, if he were to exceed that in a game, he would go up to, if I can just flip this over, we get the legendary status. And there are a lot of different aircraft in the game. Here we've got an F-16 Fighting Falcon, available in 1978 and on. This is a Wild Weasel. This is an ADF, F-16 ADF, the Aardvark. This is a support aircraft, so a little bit of different type, a Raven here that can provide support functions in missions. Now, if we look at one of these cards, we can get an idea for the types of information that are on it. This WP is the weapon points, and this means every ordnance and missile in the game has a value to it, and a weapons point value, how much space and weight it basically takes up. So this Strike Eagle can take 12 total points of weapon points. To the right of that, we have the pilot's coolness rating. This is the pilot's ability to lose stress after missions. We'll notice when he's only green, it's a 0, but it goes up to 1 when he's average, and it's up to 2 when he is legendary. Situational awareness is the ability for a pilot to take 2 actions in a turn in a mission. When this number goes up, it's better. Here we can see that Wrecker actually doesn't ever develop situational awareness as the campaign goes on. But over here, the Fighting Falcon pilot Stool has a situational awareness of 1 at the legendary level. That allows you at certain points in the mission to have 2 actions. Then down here we have the stress level and performance levels. So at the beginning here, we can see that as Wrecker has accumulated 4 stress, he would go to shaken status, which is going to degrade his air-to-air capacity and his air-to-ground capacity. Whereas when Wrecker here is at the legendary level, he can bear a lot more stress before his performance degrades to shaken. So, and even at this OK level, he's got +2 and +2 modifiers that just aren't even present when he's a green pilot. So the pilot skills are going to improve as you go through a campaign, providing, of course, that you can level them up as you move forward. Down below that in green, we have the weaponry that this particular plane, the types of ordnance it can carry. And then at the very bottom, we show that this one has a cannon. This down here, for example, the Aardvark does not, but this lists what type of standard weaponry they have all the time with them. So just a ton of aircraft to pick from in this game. And this again gives you the idea of the replayability, because you can build a squadron with so many different types of aircraft for a campaign, try a completely different squadron loadout for the next same campaign, and play it again. Next up are the target cards. There are 42 of these in the game, and they have all of the information relative to a particular target. So a target isn't a generic target. It limits the amount of aircraft. For example, if you're going after this large convoy, you can take 4 aircraft, a bomber airfield. However, you can bring as many as 6 aircraft on your mission. And then it also tells you what the enemy activity is going to be like over the mission and any special characteristics of this target. Some of these have penalties if you don't knock them out that can impact future missions. So it's a very subtle complexity built into all the different targets in the game. Some of these will be active in some campaigns and not in others. So again, 42 of these, a wide variety of targets in the game. Events are built into Eagle Leader as well. You will draw an event card as you're heading towards your target, when you're over your target, and then on the return trip home. Some of these are positive, some of these are negative. We got bad weather, for example, here, joint fires, important target, guards anti-aircraft unit, raw EW environment. So there's a wide variety, about 30, 40 of these in the game that will give each mission a slightly different flair to it. In addition to your squadron of planes, you can also spend those special option points, the currency in the game, to buy squadron assets. So here we have a Tomahawk Strike, a Thunderbolt, a Flash Phantom. We've got Airborne Battalion here, an SOF team, a Sentry, and a Nighthawk. These can be brought in on a per mission basis, but they cost you. You have to buy these with special option points. But they can kind of change the nature of a mission if you can time the use of these correctly. So another little subtle aspect, a big part I think of this game, is being able to build a good squadron, being able to load it out well with ordnance, and then understanding when you're going to need, or when bringing in these assets would be a great benefit on a particular mission. So lots of gameplay learning that goes on, I think, as you play the game more. Lastly, the game comes with 10 special condition cards. These are optional. You can add these to a campaign to give it a different flavor. So operational surprise, political breakdown. For example, your squadron may only have pilots from one nationality. There are planes and pilots from a variety of NATO nationalities in the game, so this would limit you to that. If you were to pick this one, you're going to gain some special options points that you would have to spend on other things in the campaign. Here is one new technology. You've got an aircraft becomes available. An aircraft with an introduction date after this scenario may be chosen for an additional cost of special option points. So these are a nice way to add some variety again and some depth to a game that already has incredible depth. But I like the fact that you've got some these special option cards to build into gameplay after you've played through a standard campaign a number of times. Eagle Leader also comes with 2 dice to resolve combat, 2 10-sided dice, and in a very nice touch, the zeros are eagles. Isn't that cool? Last but not least, Eagle Leader doesn't come with a map because the campaigns happen in a number of different geographic regions, but it does come with a tactical display. So this is 22 inches by 17 inches, it's mounted, and this is where you're going to fight the actual combat in a mission, the tactical combat, that 5-turn sequence. You'll be putting your target card in here, your aircraft marking the 5 turns down below here, and then your aircraft are moving through to get to the center area to strike the target, but you're also going to have enemy sights and enemy aircraft in the way. There's also a holder here for the event deck and the target deck off on the side, and a very nice handy kind of general sequence of play off on the left side. So this is where the action, really, that tactical action happens in the game. Very nice, very functional. Looks like it's got enough size to move around and have plenty of space for counters as you're playing the game. And with this, we have explored everything in this massive box that is Eagle Leader. Let me know what you think. If you've got any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them as well. I will be bringing some gameplay to this. This is a review copy of the game passed on from Dan Verssen Games. Thank you very much for that. So I'm going to be bringing some gameplay to the channel in a near future. So we will see this game again. But in the meantime, if you aren't familiar with how leader games work, you might be interested in looking at a Sherman Leader gameplay campaign that I did a long time ago that shows some of the action and campaign elements of Sherman Leader. I'll put a link to that right here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day.